If you're watching this video, I'll bet there's a pretty good chance you own some kind of piece of merchandise, whether it be a plush toy, an action figure, or even something like a Funko Pop. It seems like the world of collecting and memorabilia has really exploded over the past few years for video games, anime, and superheroes, with a crazy amount of new products being released every month for the characters and series we love so much. But while looking at the merchandise you've acquired, have you ever thought about the mystery, or lost media, that can surround the hobby of collecting? It's probably something that most people haven't thought about, and unless you look in the right places, it's something you can miss entirely. As someone who comes from the video game merchandise scene, with 15 years of collecting experience, I've come across a variety of mysteries, oddities, and intriguing stories surrounding these items that you might not think twice about. As someone who loves collecting, I'd like to discuss a few unsolved mysteries and lost media behind some pieces of merchandise. Maybe some of you out there have even come across these before, or have answers to them. With that said, let's start off with a piece of Nintendo lost media that is something I've been trying to find for years, but have been unsuccessful in more ways than one. For all the new collectors out there who buy the Jakks Pacific Mario products that every store seems to carry nowadays, you have no idea how difficult it was to even find Mario figures growing up in the mid-2000s. Back then, the options for video game toys were really limited, and even if you could find them, it was usually online only, and the prices weren't cheap at the time. Toy Biz and Joyride Studios were just about the only options for Mario figures at the time, but they had been out of print for many years by that point. There was a long period of time where it seemed like nobody wanted to make new Mario toys, so as a result of being a new collector at the time, I had to do my own research. I frequently looked online for any piece of Mario merchandise I could come across, just to gain knowledge about what was even out there. At the time, a lot of import shops were operating and carried classic items like Banpresto plushes and Sofubi figures. But the stock on these sites were often limited, and even buying too much of it could add up quickly. It simply wasn't the same as being able to buy Mario figures at Target, and as I kept searching, I believed at some point they were going to have to create a new line of toys for the American market. Well, eventually, that day came around 2007, when I came across a company called Popco, the first company to release Mario toys in America since Joyride Studios 4 years prior. One of the first products they released were the classic line of minifigures that I was actually able to find in stores back then. However, this line in particular was an original Popco creation, but not all of their merchandise was, and at the beginning of it all, they simply localized a lot of Japanese items. Those Sofubi figures from Japan were repackaged in red, and one of the Banpresto plush lines received a new English tag as well, but the patterns were all the same. But strangely, it wasn't always going to be like this, and this is where the mystery begins. At some of Popco's earliest toy show appearances are a variety of original products that never saw the light of day. It's not completely known why Popco canceled all of their original products, and as far as I know, these prototypes have never resurfaced, so in that way they've all remained lost. But with that said, these same images could also be found online, as a lot of toy websites used them as placeholders for their pre-orders. To this day, they've been saved and act as an archive for what once was. But currently, there's one photo in particular that I saw back in the day that wasn't saved, and I've been trying to find it for years. Around this same time in the late 2000s, I ended up on the website Big Bad Toy Store, who had a lot of these Popco pre-orders open, and used those same prototype images of the figures I mentioned before. However, what they also had that I haven't seen anywhere else in all my years of searching for Mario plushes was a prototype plush that went to the new Super Mario Bros. Plush set Popco released. As stated previously, this set is a Japanese plush set from Banpresto that Popco printed off new tags for and sold in the US. But it seems that originally, they were planning on making an original Mario to replace the jumping Mario that goes with the rest of the characters. Big Bad Toy Store had a listing of this Mario up on their site. I found the listing for it on the Wayback Machine, but unfortunately, there's no picture attached to it. This original Popco Mario looked nothing like the Banpresto one. Instead, Mario was facing forward in a standing position with an open mouth, and overall looked flat in comparison to the depth of the other characters. The material it was made with also looked nothing like the other characters. The colors were brighter, and the material looked shiny. The memory sticks out in my mind so much because I remember how it looked nothing like the Banpresto one, and was confused by that fact. Originally, I thought it was a counterfeit plush, as fakes were just starting to show up around that time. I've searched all over the internet for a photo of this plush, but I've never found it again. I think Big Bad Toy Store was the only website to have used the photo in the pre-order listing. But this might not have been the only time I've come across the plush before, as there was another memory from a few years ago when I researched this mystery again, and I might have seen it. My memory of this isn't as clear as the original photo, but I could have swore I found another early video of Popco's booth at the toy fair, and in it was a brief clip of their plush display, where the Mario was seen. But I simply can't find that video again. I even searched by year and brought in the terms to simply toy fair rather than just searching for Popco, but I still couldn't find anything. That was until I started editing this together, as I was trying to find those old videos of Popco at Toy Fair. Even though I couldn't find the videos, I knew visuals from the event had existed, and eventually I came across a website that archived Toy Fair 2008 pretty extensively, and contains the entirety of Popco's booth from the event. Some of these photos I've never even seen before, but while gathering the visuals to use, my eyes locked onto a Mario plush that fit the description of the one I was looking for. It was rather flat, had an open mouth, and used different material than the Banpresto ones. Based on the context of this plush, and having seen it in these photos, this is the original Popco Mario plush that had been lost for all those years. I finally found it. Interestingly, it seems to be a jumbo plush, suggesting that Popco was planning to create a large plush line. There is even a jumbo Yoshi on the other side of the booth, and coincidentally, the Mario actually looks pretty similar to the jumbo Jakks Pacific Mario that did release. But both of these plushes were cancelled, and as far as I know, the Yoshi has never appeared outside of this photo. As for the Mario, there must have been an alternate photo for the press, because this angle is not the exact same one that was on Big Bad Toy Store's website. It's so strange that they chose this plush to use in place of the Jumping Mario for the pre-order, but maybe they got confused about which plush exactly was going to be released, because the jumbo ones specifically were never up for pre-order. The next step in this search would be to actually find these plushes along with all of Popco's cancelled original figures. But by now, I'd be surprised if they weren't long gone. This next topic relates directly to that old school era of UFO plushes from the late 90s and early 2000s. It's a topic that I came across by accident, but has been on my mind occasionally ever since, for the mystery that surrounds them. There have been a few times in the past where I've bought plushes just because of how cool or sometimes strange the characters look, despite never having played the games they're from, like Seaman and Rent-A-Hero. But at some point in searching for obscure video game plushes like these, I came across one set that seems to have never been released, but could just be so rare that's not entirely the case. I don't even remember how I came across these originally, but there were a couple different old Japanese websites that were advertising upcoming products from back in the early 2000s, and one of these items happened to be a series of plushes from the Arena Fighter Power Stone by Capcom. I don't know anything about the game, or even much about the characters at all, but these plushes have a really cool style to them, and look great, so they would be nice additions to my collection. However, that's easier said than done, because in all the years I've first seen pictures of these plushes, I have never seen them for sale before. This image, sourced from a Japanese website, states that they're supposed to be coming out at the end of 1999. Sega Enterprises Co. Ltd. held an exhibition to promote new prizes for the 99 year-end sales season to interested parties. These new prices are products exclusively for amusement facilities nationwide, and can only be obtained at prize machines such as UFO Catcher. I'm not sure if any of the other sets shown here actually released, but there's nothing indicating that the Power Stone plushes actually did come out. My long-standing theory has always been that they were cancelled before being made, but I don't have any evidence to prove that, other than the fact that I've never seen them outside of this image. But that's not a very solid theory. It's possible that they did release in such small quantities or are so obscure they rarely show up for sale. Just recently, I was looking for some Hunter x Hunter plushes from the original UFO set, and only came across the 4 main characters from the series in almost every photo I looked at, believing that those were the only ones that were made. This was until I found the whole set advertised at a UFO prize event similar to the Power Stone ones, and noticed that Hisoka was in the back, bumping the set up to 5 characters. He's not even shown on the tag, so I had no idea he was in the set. But again, I speculated he might have been cancelled before release, since I had never seen one. Though apparently that wasn't the case, and an in-hand photo appeared proving he came out. And after a more detailed search with this knowledge, if we could find a single in-hand photo of any Power Stone plushes, that would prove they were released. But until one shows up, I'm going to believe they were cancelled, since I couldn't find any other information about them. This next topic takes us to a completely different side of collecting, involving anime merchandise rather than video game stuff. While I always feel like I've been too dedicated to video game merchandise collecting to have time or resources to spend on anime merchandise, as I find myself getting back into Naruto and Bleach from my childhood, it's also a lot of fun buying all the new figures that are surprisingly still being made. And while reliving my original Naruto fandom, I found myself going back to take a closer look at the action figure line Mattel made in 2006 as part of the original series from when it was airing on Cartoon Network. This line had a wide variety of characters that hold up pretty well to this day. A lot of people like to criticize this line for its sculpts and gimmicky action features, but the original characters from the set, like Orochimaru, Iruka, and Zabuza, really stand out. They're the only posable figures of these characters that have ever been made, and it's unlikely such characters will ever be revisited. For that reason, I love the line, so I started researching more of it, and once having gone down the Mattel Naruto rabbit hole, you can find some hidden gems, and of course, lost media. There are some really limited figures that I had never even seen as a kid, like Curse Mark Sasuke and Lotus Kick Rock Lee. But then there are a few others that seem to have been cancelled, like Lightning Blade Kakashi and Claw Attack Gaara. The only photos of them that exist are from Toy Fair. There's also a Jirobo that never came out and can only be seen on the back of a box, though all 3 characters have resurfaced as test shots over the years. But while doing all this research on Mattel Naruto figures, I came across a Reddit thread showcasing another figure I had never seen before, but it was the title of it that really caught my attention. It was called The Rarest Official Naruto Figures in Existence, only 2 ever made, and contains a photo showing 2 boxed Naruto figures with the 9-tailed fox chakra, marked as being from Wizard World and Comic-Con 2006. The user who posted these, named Shogunnian, provided some details about what these were, stating, "They were given out by Mattel as lottery prizes during SDCC and Wizard World in 2006, 1 for each convention. Naruto's eyes and the Kyuubi chakra eyes are actual rubies. The Naruto figure is the same mold as the standard Mattel Naruto, but with a different face. The Kyuubi mold was never reproduced." More of the story surrounding these figures is revealed in the thread. Apparently, the 2 winners of these figures both sold them off in 2006, not fully knowing how rare and perhaps valuable they were. And Shogunnian confirms that they were only able to acquire them as a result of hearing about the figures beforehand and actively sought them out around the time of these conventions. I wish I could find the official announcement for these. I remember them being featured in an issue of Shonen Jump magazine in 2006, but I'm not sure which issue it was. As far as I know, that was the only time they were ever mentioned. And this is where the search begins. We know for certain that the figures exist. They were both resold, and as of this thread from 4 years ago, are still with Shogunnian. So the mystery isn't about what happened to the figures, but rather where the original advertisement is mentioning them. As mentioned in the original thread, the advertisement for the figures was allegedly seen in a Shonen Jump from 2006, but unfortunately, I only had a few issues from that year. Still, it would be worth looking through my copies before purchasing new issues, in case I just don't remember seeing it. But I flipped through them and didn't see anything mentioning the Mattel figures. The September issue, strangely, even advertises a contest to win Mattel figures right next to Naruto's head. But there isn't anything that mentions figures in this issue either. I even looked through the manga pages where they sometimes insert extra content, and even checked the mail-away card in the front, but didn't find anything useful. I have no idea what this headline is in reference to, but after coming up empty-handed, I asked for some help from someone on Twitter who has a complete collection of Shonen Jumps to look through, and even they came up empty-handed. It appears as though the announcement for this figure was not from a Shonen Jump, and with that conclusion, I'm not sure where else to begin searching for it. There were a few different anime magazines that were released in 2006, so it could have been in any of them. But without even a date to begin at, you'd have to search the first 6 months of every magazine, given how the conventions took place over the summer. If you've ever seen an advertisement for the Ruby Eye Naruto figures, be sure to let me know. The next mystery I'd like to cover isn't necessarily a topic related to lost media, or even a piece of merchandise that's gone missing, but it's a question regarding the history of an item. One of my favorite kinds of merchandise to collect are action dolls. They're basically 1/6 scale action figures that use real fabric for their clothing. To me, it's the most realistic representation you can get in an item, more than a figure or plush by themselves. And in my time searching for 1/6 scale figures, I've come across a lot of really obscure ones that most people probably aren't aware of, like a Capcom vs SNK 2 set and 2 Tekken sets. These were so fun tracking down and adding to my collection, so eventually, I started looking for action dolls from other series I enjoyed playing, having come across a pair from the Yakuza series of games, shortly after I started playing Yakuza Kiwami on the PS4. These looked awesome, and the sculpts were perfect. Not to mention, they had been released relatively recently, so I could buy them directly from the manufacturer, Asmus Toys. However, the most disappointing feature about these action dolls is their scale. They're not actually 1/6 scale or 12 inches tall, but rather 1/8, which is about 9 inches tall. I ended up buying the Kiryu, and he looks fantastic, but it's just too bad he's not in scale with any of my other action dolls. So I held out hope that maybe some obscure old company had actually made 1/6 scale Yakuza characters that I hadn't come across before. I began looking into this, and discovered that apparently in the early 2010s, the same company who released the new Yakuza action dolls, Asmus Toys, had also made a Kiryu and Majima in the 1/6 scale. As I began doing more research on the figures, I soon discovered just how obscure they are. There's not a lot of documentation about them online, aside from a few threads that were made around the time they were first released. They're also impossibly hard to find, but I kept an eye on them in case one did show up. And eventually, a Kiryu did surface. I was pretty set on purchasing it for my collection, trying to inspect every part about it, as the price was not cheap, and I wanted to make sure it was in perfect condition. I was pretty much sold on the listing, until I looked closer at Kiryu's face. There was something about it that looked a little off to me, like the sculpt looked a little different, or it wasn't painted with as much depth as some of the other photos I've seen. I looked into this further, and came across someone on Twitter who actually has one of these, and claims theirs is 99% likely to be a bootleg. But theirs looked way closer to the old photos from the forums that were definitely legit, especially compared to the listing I had found. And with the more I compared, the more differences I found across all of the appearances of the face. So the question I have to ask is, do bootlegs of these Asmus Toys Yakuza action dolls exist? Based on my knowledge of 1/6 scale figures, some companies' products have been bootlegged non-stop, and others haven't been touched. For example, the Metacom Real Action Heroes series seems to have never been bootlegged, and I've never seen a known counterfeit from this line. However, the Resident Evil figures from Hot Toys have been bootlegged to no end. I've even seen complete in-box figures on Yahoo Auctions Japan that use replacement parts for some of the accessories and pieces, something you might miss without a close inspection. But for the Asmus Yakuza figures, I couldn't come to a conclusion about these. It doesn't seem like Asmus Toys bootlegs exist in any large quantity, but the Yakuza action dolls are so scarce, there's no way to tell if bootleg parts were swapped into real figures. Though I did read on those old forums that the head sculpts were done in a resin material, whereas the body was plastic. So if that's the case, the heads were probably hand-painted, and could be the reason for the differences in quality. Kiryu also had 2 different releases from what I could find. The first version didn't have a tattooed body, whereas the second one did, after Asmus Toys partnered with a company that could print the tattoo on his back. There was a point in time where Asmus offered replacement bodies to those that had purchased the original, and it's in this second run where the quality could have changed, causing differences in appearance. I did end up messaging the user who had stated theirs was a bootleg on Twitter, and got a reply, stating that she actually isn't sure whether or not hers is a bootleg, only that she was told it was. She mentioned that the box looked different than some of the others she had seen, but as far as I could tell, all the boxes I looked at were exactly the same. But maybe there's an explanation for this too. Apparently, both Kiryu and Majima were released at Wonderfest, as noted by a label on their box. However, a look on the Wayback Machine reveals that they could also be bought from Asmus Toys' website after the event. Even though they had a limited run, I wouldn't be surprised if changes were made at some point in production. If you have one of these figures or know more about their release history, I'd be interested in learning more. If you're an older collector like I am, who started buying Sonic stuff way before the days of releases from Jazzwares and Jakks Pacific, then you know how popular the Japanese UFO plushes of the 90s and 2000s were within the collecting scene. Sets like the Sonic the Fighters, Adventure, and X series were so iconic within the community, and I knew of several people who specialized in only collecting Sonic plushes back then. It was a pretty high-tier category and came with a lot of respect from other members. But aside from all of the well-known Sonic plushes that had been seen back then, there were always a handful that remained more elusive. Some of these include the Sega World Sydney set, which includes the only plushes for Sally and the SatAM design of Eggman in existence, as well as the Jumbo Cal Toy Sonic from the Best Buy raffle, which had only been spotted in a couple low-quality pictures. But there's one set of Sonic plushes that, even back then, had rarely been seen and to this day remain a mystery when it comes to their release and their whereabouts. It all started in the mid-2000s on the defunct Japanese website AnimeMate, who specialized in reselling UFO plushes from that special 90s and early 2000s era of products. Their site was one of the first places I even discovered a lot of the old Sonic and Mario sets, as their photos were some of the only ones online at the time. They were constantly finding new stock and updated pretty frequently. Well, if you happen to check their Sonic plush section at any point in the mid-2000s, you might have come across a Knuckles plush that upon first glance doesn't look like anything out of the ordinary. In fact, it looks pretty similar to the Knuckles plush that was released normally as part of the Adventure series. But a closer inspection reveals that this is much more than a regular UFO plush. And no, it's not just because of Yuji Naka's signature on the shoe. Unlike the Adventure UFO plush, which has plastic eyes and soft shoes, this plush has iron-on eyes, an open mouth, and vinyl shoes, with a slightly different construction overall. But it's the description that really begins the mystery, as this Knuckles plush is apparently a promo item from Sonic Team that was given away at an event called Sonic Show 1997. At the time, I had never come across any other listings of this plush aside from the one here, and to date, this is still the only listing I've ever seen for it, on top of the fact that it's not mentioned anywhere else online either. But it doesn't stop there and gets even more interesting if you visit the Wayback Machine to an even earlier capture from AnimeMate. Apparently, in addition to Knuckles, the website has a listing for Sonic from the Sonic Team series as well. Yes, that's right, there's a Sonic that goes to this undocumented set of plushes. At the time, never to be seen or mentioned outside of this listing. Unfortunately, no images were saved of it in this capture. But in the years that have passed since first discovering these plushes, a few answers have been recovered. Several years ago, Patmac and myself had rediscovered the plushes and their mystery, so we decided to look into them a little further and hopefully discover their origin. Through extensive digging, we uncovered an interview with Yuji Naka from thenextlevel.com that contains a photo set showcasing the inside of their offices. These photos in themselves are pretty incredible to see, just some of the old artifacts and plushes like Gamma and Hero Chow that are impossible to find nowadays. But if you look closely at the first photo of the plush shelves, you'll notice a sitting Knuckles that looks quite similar to the one from AnimeMate. And then on the other side, a Sonic, made with the same materials and style. And finally, a Tails, with blue iron-on eyes and vinyl shoes to round out the set. Within these photos, we can clearly see the set that is the promo Sonic Team set, that AnimeMate had somehow managed to get the Knuckles and Sonic from, and sell on their website. But if they were sold, how did Sonic Team end up with them, and what's up with the story about their giveaway in the first place? Based on our research, these plushes were created as internal products for Sonic Team, around the time Adventure was being developed, as they're the earliest Adventure plushes that exist based on those designs, further proven by their colored eyes. However, the ones seen in the photos at Sonic Team were likely not the same ones AnimeMate had obtained, as the sold listings on AnimeMate predate the office photos, which implies 2 sets were made, one to keep at Sonic Team and one to be given away. But with that said, the way in which these were given away is still a mystery, with very few leads to go off of. The fact that these are early Adventure plushes, and with the date of 1997 that AnimeMate gives them, had led Patmac to believe they could have been given away at the Sonic Adventure reveal party, but we found no visual evidence to prove that. We've also never been able to solve where the AnimeMate ones ended up. They've never reappeared for sale or in a public photo after all these years, and there's no record of them ever having obtained Tails, who could still remain with the original owner of the plush. In fact, the most recent appearance of any of these plushes was on the Japanese website for Sonic's 20th anniversary in a section about merchandise. Sonic himself makes a cameo, sitting in a Toy Island inflatable chair, but the other 2 characters are not seen, and the plushes themselves are not discussed. Since these haven't been seen in so long, condition and preservation is something else to worry about, and if it weren't for the AnimeMate listings, it's possible the entire plush set would have remained in obscurity. Though to me, it's all about the fun of the hunt for these collectibles. That makes them worth finding, whether they're lost media or not. Hey guys, it's LSuperSonicQ, and I hope you enjoyed the first part of the video, but now it's time to get into the second part, which is the collection showcase. So before we get into that, though, I just want to give a little introduction about, what we're going to see. So I've been, like I said in the other part of the video, collecting for 15 years, but my collection isn't really all in one place anymore. So the history behind that is I had this main set up in the living room for a long time.
basically for the entirety of my collecting. But a few years ago, we had this like really bad like flood, and I had to pack like all that stuff up. And when we moved back, I decided to condense like most of my collection to one like large table. And on that table is what we're going to be taking a look at in this video. Before we get into that, I kind of just want to show you guys some pictures of other areas I'm kind of trying to like recreate, kind of similar to how they used to be. So here's some pictures of like my Sonic section, which the majority of my Sonic stuff, isn't even on this table I'm talking about. It's in a different room. Then next to that, I have my main shelves, which again, I'm still trying to rebuild, but it's hard. I just can't really get it the way that I used to have it. So this stuff is kind of a work in progress. Maybe someday I can show you guys like what all this ends up being. And this doesn't even count like the 5 or 6 bags of plushes that I just have literally no room for anywhere. Not to mention underneath the table that I'm going to show you guys is also more stuff that I just don't have room for. It's either boxed stuff or just like stuff that I don't really want to display. Things like that. So with that said, let's get into the video and I hope you guys enjoy. So I guess we'll just start at the top here and work our way through the table. So this first section here is actually a new addition. I kind of bought this plastic shelf and put it onto the wall, and I thought it would be a good spot to put my Gashapon figures. So all the Dragon Ball ones actually came from a real Gashapon machine from Bandai. Like, you can find these around nowadays, which is really cool. And I love the old little like buildable figures and stuff. Used to get them, I remember from the grocery store, they used to have some Yu-Gi-Oh ones back in the day, so pretty nostalgic, and Dragon Ball has really, really cool figures, so I actually collected all the sets. These 4 are a set, these 4 are a set, and these 4 are a set, so I think these are all the ones that are out right now, so I have them all. I have a lot of doubles, but can't really do much about that. These JoJo ones also were from the Gashapon machine. I did not get any doubles from these, though. I actually saved money on these because my brother got me Rohan, and I got all the other ones in one go. So that's the whole set, and of course my Josuke, I think it's a Banpresto figure, PVC figure right there, and then the original Part 4, Volume 1 Japanese. That's my little JoJo display. It's not super big or anything yet, but I want to get some more characters from the series. And then on the other end here, with just some other like Gashapon figures and keychains that I just think really work well on this shelf because it's not a very big shelf, and just all the small figures go really well up here. There's a No More Heroes poster that I think was in the last video I took of this stuff, and then these Mario coins from GameStop, which are still up there. So right below here is the Nintendo stuff, and this is kind of like what's left of the Nintendo stuff, I would say, because like I mentioned in the video, I've kind of been getting into more anime stuff, and a lot of my Nintendo stuff ended up in that second shelving arrangement, like I said. So this is kind of what's left, the stuff that I either liked or just didn't move. So I guess from this corner going over, just some old like Jax figures and Gashapon figures I've had for quite a while. Same thing down here, Joyride Luigi, little buildable Skyward Sword Link, and the Jax Samus figures. Mario in that car, which I've had forever. That was one of the first things I ever even got. Some mushrooms, which are cool. I like my mushroom merchandise. And then this little area, which is just kind of what's left of like the Sonic figures. Like I said, a lot of my Sonic figures are in the other display. But Gamma, like the Laughing Sonic, and some Jack stuff, and Zelda stuff. So I think we kind of end the video game stuff right around here. Joyride Link, the Fox bobblehead, which is such a cool figure. What a classic. Goron Link from Epoch, and then, well, I guess we kind of go a little bit further with video game stuff later on, but then the Fox from the Power A statue, which is a nice statue, actually. I know a lot of people didn't like it for its paint job. I think the paint could be better, but I like the statue. So yeah, this little like formation is kind of all the video game stuff that's left on the table that isn't like Tekken or like fighting game stuff, like Nintendo stuff, as well as this plush display, I guess. This has pretty much stayed the same, I think, for a long time. I can't even think of anything new I added to it. This Yoshimitsu Tekken plush keychain isn't even new. I just put it here because I didn't have any other spot for it. Most of my other Tekken stuff is out in the other display, but I don't know. I like Yoshimitsu. So, and then there's the Sir Kibble, which is really cool. He's still there, and Banjo, and Link and everyone is basically still here. Cloud, so yeah. Something I did add though was this Robotnik and Sonic like buildable. Well, it's Eggman and his ship, or Robotnik, I guess. Classic here. From Jax, and the cool thing is you can swap out the accessories. Like I have the Wrecking Ball on right now, but it came with a bunch of other like objects you can put onto the ship, like the drills and the big hammer from the other Sonic games, which was really cool. I got this for Christmas from my brother, and it's a really really cool display. I kind of wanted to have him like hanging out over the plush display, you know, almost as if like he's floating over the shelves. But the little stand in the back isn't great for that. Like it doesn't really extend that far, so it looks kind of like Sonic's kind of hanging on there. This is kind of like the main central like first part, I guess, of the shelf area. So these are like a lot of action dolls. Like I said, I've been getting into action dolls quite a bit. Here's Project BM Lelouch from Metacom and the other Lelouch from Metacom. I've had these for quite a while. But then I got this Colin one recently from Mega House, and they also made a CC from Mega House as well. I think it was part of the same set as this Colin. I'm going to get her at some point, and then those are all 4 Code Geass dolls that I think exist. There is a Suzaku, but it's like a designer doll kind of girly thing that I don't want. It's not like an action doll. The real action hero is Link over here from Metacom. I've had this for quite a while too. He's still here. And then these two are new additions. The A-Zone Ichigo and Hitsugaya, which I saw these a long time ago when I was a kid. I never thought I would get them, but you know, when you're older, you have money for stuff and you can find stuff more easily. So I got both of these. That's the whole set. They're really, really cool. I like the Hitsugaya quite a bit. Ichigo is really cool as well, but I feel like they should have given him more accessories or just, I don't know. I feel like they could have done more to capture his character better, especially in the Bankai form, but Hitsugaya I have like no complaints with. There is a Rangiku that's part of actually the Mega House line that Colin is a part of. So she's not really in the A-Zone set, but she does exist. If I ever find her for cheap, I might get her, but I'm not a huge fan of Rangiku, so I probably won't. And then right in front of here is some more Bleach stuff. I actually like Bleach quite a bit, even though I like never talk about it. So this is the new, like, what is it? Souls and Swords or something. Like PVC Kenpachi from the new line that came out for the Blood War. This is like the first like Kenpachi figure that's in scale with any other figures from any other line, so I had to get it. Really great sculpt. This is the Byakuya from Toynami. Again, Toynami did really, really good Bleach stuff. I think Toynami Bleach stuff is probably one of the best that you can buy. And then Playarts Kai Hitsugaya, which I actually think the Playarts Kai figures are maybe the best Bleach figures in existence. I think the Playarts Kai Hitsugaya is the best Hitsugaya figure. I'm actually a big fan of the character. Man, that figure took me a long time to find, and that's one of those ones I saw back in the day quite a bit, but could never afford it. And then it got really rare, so I found a good deal on this one. And yeah, really, really nice sculpt and posability. A little fragile though. Playarts Kai figures tend to be fragile, so aside from that, though, really, really great figure. Then in the front here, a couple Naruto Toonami figures. I'm trying to collect more of them, but I don't have a whole lot. I like Sasuke's design from Shippuden, so I bought a Sasuke straight up. The Gaara came with something else, but I'll try and get more of these at some point. And then this Lupin figure that's been here for like ever. Just a PVC figure. And then in the back here was my Jin figure from... Oh, I guess we missed quite a bit here. So this was my old Epoch Jin action doll, which I clearly still have. Probably one of the best... Honestly, I've kind of come around to this one quite a bit. Probably one of the best large-scale Jin figures you can get. The Lupin from the Stylish collection by Metacom. I think this is the best Lupin figure ever in existence. So, fantastic figure. And then the new 3-0 Naruto 1/6 action doll, which it's 1/6, but he's a little smaller because he's like young Naruto, I guess as they call him now. This is a fantastic figure. And they're coming out with a Sasuke soon, and they've announced Sakura and Kakashi, so I gotta get all of them, but really, really cool. And then a little Giorno PVC figure here. Well, I guess he's not really little, but again, I'd like to get more JoJo stuff. I've always kind of liked this one, so I decided to buy it. So that was like the first like area here, I guess, of stuff. So now we'll move over here. Some anime character, some game character from some Yujin Gashapon set. I don't have any more of those around here. I put most of them in the other display. Holy crap, these figures are a pain to build, and they don't stay together. The plastic they use on them is awful. Like, man, do not like this set. Kyo from a King of Fighters. I think this was a pre-order deluxe thing in Australia. It's one of the limited statues they made for it. They also have Terry, Athena, and Leona in the set. I'd like to get the whole set, but they're impossible to find, so I bought this one a few years ago, but if I ever find more, I'll probably get more. I wish he was a little taller, but I think the sculpt is pretty cool, and it's like based on the cover of the game. Behind here, some more King of Fighters stuff, and a Hitsugaya from the same Kenpachi set, but I decided to put him over here because he's a little smaller. He just fit better there. There's an Athena, King of Fighters 96, I think, PVC figure. They need to make better Athena merchandise. There's a new statue coming out from Kotobukiya, which is really nice looking, but other than that, there's not a lot of old stuff you can really go for. This is pretty cool, though, this Benimaru statue. So I had never even seen this before I first saw this one, and I always thought, like, does Benimaru have any large-scale figures? And I didn't think any existed, but then I found this statue completely by accident. I don't even know what I was looking for. It's from a company, I don't remember what their name was. Like, it's not Kyoto, but it's something like that. Kyoto, I don't know. All they've made is these 3 King of Fighters figures. There's the Benimaru, there's an Iori, and a Kyo. And that's it. They've only made like those 3 figures, and that's it. So what a way to go out, though, with like the only Benimaru like large figure in existence. I think if there was ever a chance for Benimaru to get another figure, it would be from Storm Collectibles. But I don't know. They tend to do some weird character choices. I don't know, like stuff that I'm not really interested in. So that remains to be seen, I guess. And there's my Play Arts Kai Cloud, which has been here forever. One of my favorite figures of all time. And then over in this direction, the NECA Leon figure from Resident Evil 4, another fantastic figure, one of my favorites. Got this new Storm Collectibles Akira figure from Virtua Fighter 5, which is probably the best Akira figure I would say that exists. There aren't like a whole lot of great options, but I think the sculpt and the posability is really good on this one. You can't really see him too well, but there he is. It gets kind of cluttered in this area. Here's my Jin Storm Collectibles figure, which was the first one I got. I'd like to get more Storm stuff, but I don't know. Like I said, some of the character choices just aren't really the best for me. And you got to get this Storm stuff right when it comes out, because if you miss it, man, you can't find it afterwards. Here's a Heihachi Tartaku on top of the Nina Williams Epoch statue. There's a Jin that goes to this set. I'll have to get it at some point, but it's impossible to find. There's a new Ayane statue from the Epoch Dead or Alive set. This was really hard to find. I'll talk a little bit more about Epoch in a second when I show the Kasumi. This one was really hard to find. I don't know if they didn't make a lot of them or something, but it's numbered on the bottom of like one of 300, I think, or 400. The sculpt is pretty good, but man, the bow in her back, which isn't even hooked in now, does not stay at all. If you put that bow in, you better not touch this figure or even walk by it, because it might fall out if you walk by it. And her gosh dang little bandana broke because one of my figures slightly hit into it just the wrong way and it snapped off. I have to glue that back on. I'm not a big Ayane fan though, so it's okay. But these Epoch statues not only are they fragile, they're like 20 years old. So like the resin is just... And then there's an Athena King of Fighters, like, I guess it's like an action doll, but it's really small. And you had to like, I don't know, like build her necklace and like put on the stickers for her gloves, which I never even did because you needed to use like hair dryers and stuff. I don't know, kind of a weird thing. Again, I wish there was better Athena figures. And then speaking of like small scale stuff, here's the Kiryu from the video that I mentioned. Really, really good Kiryu. I mean, this is probably the best one you can get. I think it's better than the Figma. But again, it's just, I wish it was bigger. I don't even have the Majima. Like I said, unfortunately, I didn't buy it. Now it's impossible to find, but if you can pick this guy up, I think the Asmus website might still have him. Definitely recommend it. And then behind him he's kind of facing backward because I like the tattoo on the back. It's an older Yakuza 2 Kiryu like statue. He's missing the base and his accessories, but I just wanted him just so he could pose with the Asmus Kiryu, just the back there. The face sculpt isn't super good on that guy, though. Sarah and Akira statues from More Creations. I've had these for quite a while. They're pretty good. They're nice old cold cast statues. Not like my favorite sculpts, but I like them. Kazuya, which goes to the Epoch Jin right here. His jacket rips, and I literally posed him in that position. I haven't touched him because it's one of those materials that deteriorates. I think it may have even deteriorated a little bit in the box, like right when I even got him. They're just so old. High Dream Corp Jin, that is still here from that video from last year. And then the Terry, of course, still in the box. Looking good. One of my favorite Terry figures. So I guess I kind of went in a weird direction here. We're going to go back up behind Benimaru. Well, actually, in this display case down here, which you probably can't see, there's actually a Giorno Medicos figure. I'm not sure what I want to do with this display case. I just wanted more room, so I kind of put Giorno in here, but there's no one else even in there right now, and I don't know what I don't know if I'm going to keep Giorno in there, and here's just some accessories I didn't do anything with. Yeah, this is a little messy up here. Orochimaru, I guess here's our first figure introduction to Naruto. Orochimaru Mattel figure here, which took forever to find with the sword accessory. I really wanted that piece. This was a really hard figure to find loose. I don't want to buy mint ones and open them because they're expensive and stuff, so really hard to find loose, but I finally did. This Samus is in the way, but it's the Eugen Super Real Samus. I didn't have a place for her, unfortunately, when I redid this, so she's going to have to go somewhere else, but right now, since there's nothing here, I just put her here. This is one of my favorite figures in my collection, I think. And then up here is my Naruto stuff. So it's still a small collection. It's still growing. A lot of this stuff is the Bandai Anime Heroes, which is a line I really, really like. There's the Ultimate Action ones as well, the Kakashi, Naruto, and, well, Shippuden Naruto and regular Naruto. I think that line's canceled, though. They're not going to make any more of those with Anime Heroes being so successful. Then there's a Deidara in Pain Toonami figure right there. The Toonami ones are cool. I wish they were bigger and in scale with the rest of these characters, but the sculpts are really, really cool, so I'll give them that. I'd like to get a couple more of those as well. Again, Samus is kind of in the way. Oh yeah, and the rest of these were Anime Heroes figures. I do really like. I think right now my two favorites for the Anime Heroes is the Ninja War Kakashi, which is really cool. He's got the Zabuza sword. And I really do like this Mangekyo Sharingan Sasuke. He's all like purple and stuff. But the Nine-Tailed Naruto is just, what a cool figure that is. He has like snap-on Nine-Tailed chakra stuff. It's so cool. So this is the legendary Knight's Child plush I've had for basically ever. What a classic. I feel like I've already praised him in plenty of other videos, but yeah, this is just, I never even wanted to touch him. I felt like I was never worthy enough to actually touch his fur. So I kept him in this original bag, but just one of like this is like one of the first things I bought with like the paycheck from my first real job. It's just crazy. What a classic. I can't even express anything else about him. I have the Neutral Chow. At some point I would like to get the Hero Chow, but man, I've looked for Hero Chow plushes and I just can't even find them. You just can't find Hero Chow plushes, but even if I get a Hero Chow plush, it will never replace the Knight's Chow. Here's a play button. I'm popular on YouTube, apparently. I guess this is what I was talking about earlier with the Ayane statue. There's the Kasumi. So yeah, this is Epoch. Epoch did a lot of fighting game stuff. Dead or Alive. I think they made some of the best Dead or Alive figures that exist. So here's a Kasumi statue I bought. And again, she goes to the set with Ayane. I almost had a complete freak out because this red, if you can see that like red, there's like a red, it's not a ribbon, but it's like it's supposed to be a ribbon like attached to her sword. Yeah, I was moving stuff around one day, and this is why she's actually up here away from everyone else, and that almost ripped off completely. It bent upward, and like, geez, it bent like straight out. I'm like, holy crap, that was not supposed to happen, because another figure like caught onto it. So that sucked, but luckily it wasn't actually like cast in resin. It was kind of like a little bit of a bendy material. So I was able to bend it back into place. And yeah, she stays up here now because I do not risk that breaking again. Even though the other day I almost had trouble with these little blue, I don't know, ties on her side here. Something almost caught on that and ripped it off. And that is not bendy. That is resin. So yeah, that's That's not good. I got to be really careful with that. Then over here, all right, let me explain. Well, here's Terry. Terry's always been over here, so I got to keep him here. Okay, let me explain. So if you guys know Dead or Alive stuff, you know that hairstyles are a big deal. So I think Kasumi with the braid hairstyle is the best design of the character. But Epoch is really the only company that made Kasumi merchandise with the braid style. So the next best hairstyle is the ponytail, which is this one. Now, there's not even a lot of ponytail figures of Kasumi to begin with, but there's even less that are sculpted good. So this one is sculpted pretty good, and it's ponytail, so I said, you know what, I gotta buy it. So she sits up here, like kind of next to that one. So I think with that said, that's kind of like the second portion. So now the final portion over here is the plushes, which have probably, I don't know, maybe changed the least over I guess the past year or so. I've added quite a bit more, but I don't know, it's not anything crazy like the figures and stuff. So I think most of this has relatively stayed the same. I'll go through it all though. That is a Rent-A-Hero plush, like I mentioned in the video. I didn't have any good pictures of her. I got this Rouge Sonic X UFO plush tagged with the head string. It is literally mint condition. My brother and sister saw this at a comic book store, and it was severely underpriced, and they're like, oh, we gotta buy this for LSSQ. So they bought it for me, and I'm like, holy crap. One of those things you just never think you're gonna find in the wild, and then you do. So she sits next to Mighty, which I've had for a while, and Ray, the new Jax Ray plush, which is really cool. I really like that one. And then over here, this bald guy, the girl, and this girl are from the Virtua Fighter 4 set, which I'm trying to collect. Very, very, very hard to find plush set. I didn't even know it existed for a really long time until I started looking into it. So I have all three of these characters. I don't remember what his name is. She's Vanessa, and that's Sarah, obviously. They're all tagged. They have their head string. I have an untagged Akira, but I've never even seen a Jackie for sale, and that's the whole set. So at some point, I'd like to get the rest of those. Then over here, well, there's Takara DDD, I was going to say, right in between there. Then I was going to say, this might be one of my pride and joys of my plush collecting. I finally completed the Takara Star Fox plush set. Fox was my most recent addition. I got him a few months ago for what I felt like was a pretty fair price, all things considered. Man, I think I started this set with Peppy back in like 2016 or 2017. It may have been 2017. Took me just forever to get all these guys together, but I finally did. Here they are. I love this plush set, and there's not a lot of Star Fox stuff to begin with, so this is just like, oh, man, this is such a great set. Then over here, I'm kind of getting into Naruto plushes. Not as much as the figures. I don't like as many of the older plushes as I do figures, but they're still nice, some of them. Like this original Naruto from the first wave. Really, really cool. I have a Sasuke too in a different spot. Then these guys over here, well, this is like a character from, well, this blue guy and then this bird are from the New Zealand story, which is an old Taito arcade game. I didn't know they made a plush set for that game, and I remember playing it at my brother played it at the arcade once, and I thought it was pretty cool, so they made a plush set. So I'm trying to collect that set. I have two of these characters, but it's weird because, like, I think the set is, like, 3 different characters, but they made, like, a fuzzy version and a not fuzzy version for each, so there's really 6 in the whole set. The cat guy is not fuzzy, the bird is fuzzy, so it's, like, really, really hard to collect for as well. Same thing with these Hebereke plushes, or Euphoria, in America. I don't remember any of their names. Well, I remember their English names. This guy was like Bop Louie. This guy was Freon Leon, and I think this guy was, I don't remember what his name was, but yeah, I'm trying to collect the Euphoria keychain set as well. And this cat guy down here is also from the larger plush set, which I'm kind of trying to collect, I guess. But again, these are really, 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 really rare. Like, I think it's taken me 3 years to get one of each of these guys, so like 4 years for just those, and I'm not even close. This is also from the Taito plush set here, this hippo character from Liquid Kids, which is a cool platformer game that I don't have, but I'd like to get it at some point. There's another plush set with, I think, 3 characters from this game, and they're, again, different. One's fuzzy, one's not. That's the fuzzy one, so I'll have to get more of those at some point. And this is kind of cool too. Hunter x Hunter plushes from the video, like I mentioned. Yeah, I wanted these two. I guess I mostly just wanted these two. I would have bought more if there was more to the set that I was able to find, but again, they're really, really impossible to find. If I ever found a Hisoka, I think I'd like him and I'd be okay with not getting the other two characters, but if I ever find the whole set or find the other ones for a good price, I'll probably get them, but even finding these was like crazy hard. So here's my Nuts and Bolts Banjo plush, which apparently is not a Gamescom promo item. I thought it was. I believe new information has come out about this guy since. And I think he's actually an employee-only item, or some kind of employee lottery prize or something. I saw one on eBay not that long ago for like $10,000, which is ridiculous, but it came with a postcard saying that like it was a winner or you were selected, and mine did not come with that. So that's the first piece of evidence I've ever seen to suggest this was not given away at a convention. And I would tend to believe that over just rumors that it was from a convention. So, but he's still down here. Got the Seaman plushes, which are just awful to try and like pose because they're just so awkwardly long. Then a couple King of Fighters plushes here. Athena. This is one of two Athena plushes. I think they both look pretty good. I kind of like the bigger head on this one, actually. I just think it looks more UFO-like than the other one, but the other one I think looks better overall. But I like both of them. I think they're both different designs, too. Not sure which costume I'd like better. Maybe this one. I like the yellow like band around the waist. It's a good accessory. And then Terry, which I've had forever. His string broke, apparently. I don't remember it ever. When I was redoing this whole plush stuff, I noticed his string broke, which is fine. I remember I bought this. He doesn't even have the star on his back. I bought this for like $10, and just because I really like the character so much, I just wanted the plush. I didn't really care what condition he was in, but I don't think I bought him with a broken string to begin with. That was years ago I had him. Here's the FM Towns Marty, Mr. T guy, still in his package. Well, it's not mint, but Tekken animal plushes with gloves that are just like deteriorating every day. And then finally, my bagged Blinks plush to round everything out at the corner here. Not too much to say about him. I got him a long time ago for, I think, $30, because no one cares about Blinks. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, the first part and the second part here. And yeah, I guess that ends the video, so thanks for watching, guys, as always, and until the next one, I'm LSuperSonicQ, Finn.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to check out some of my other Lost Media videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Finn.